You finally invested in the stock market. You've been doing all the research, looking at all the different investment apps, all the robo-advisors that exist, and you finally choose the one. You've got money in there, and then the worst thing happens. They go out of business. Can that really happen? It sure can. But there are things that you can know to protect yourself. And today we're going to answer the question, is M1 Finance one of the popular investment platforms that exist? Are they safe? Are they legit to invest your money? Well, we're going to find out what the answer to that question is and a whole lot more right now. What's going on, GSC fam and Wealth Hacker Nation? It's your boy Jeff. It's time to make your life more. Today, we're talking about M1 Finance. Is it safe? Is it legit? Is that a platform that you want to invest your money with? And I get it. In this day and age, like, it is scary times. Not so much like in the online broker investment app space. For the most part, like, we haven't had any dangerous close calls there. Where we've had a lot of close calls is in with crypto exchanges, with Celsius Network, with BlockFi, for those that had money with FTX. I mean, you've seen the headlines time and time again. So much, in fact, I'm just so tired of seeing those. But anytime we have that, like, there is this ripple effect in how this could affect traditional investors, those that don't even really care about crypto, but they want to invest their money in the stock market. And there are so many different investment apps out there. You know, we've talked about Robinhood in the past. There's also crowdfunding places like Realty Mogul or Fundrise that we've also talked about. So that begs the question, you know, is investing in M1 Finance safe? Is it a legit place to invest your money? Now, for those that are interested, I also have a blog post, as always, maybe not always, but I like to give you some text content anytime I have a podcast or a YouTube when I can. So that if you want to read more about this, this is on the blog, and I'll have a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, or the show notes if you're listening to this on the podcast. Basically just addressing everything that I'm talking about here. So first things first, like, let's talk a little bit about some basics with M1 Finance. So first thing about them you need to know is that they were they were founded in 2015. So they've been around for a little while, definitely not as long as some of the bigger investment houses that exist out there. But if you look at, they were founded in 2015. At the time of this recording, they have over $6 billion in client asset. And that might seem like a lot of money, which it is. Like, there's no doubt, like, $6 billion is a very, very large number. But if you want to compare that to another investment house such as Fidelity, who's obviously been around a little bit longer than an M1 Finance, at the time of this recording, Fidelity has over 4.5 trillion, that's correct, trillion in customer assets. So there is a bit of a discrepancy, you know, on the numbers there, right? 6 billion versus 4.5 trillion. That being said, though, having 6 billion in assets for a investment broker that was founded in 2015, that shows that they have good traction. You don't get to that size if you don't have a good product, if you don't have good customer service, if you don't have a good offering. I mean, and right now, like, they're not touting their own investment portfolios. Like, it's not like a Bernie Madoff where they're saying, hey, we're going to give you consistent return and never lose you money. You know, like, that is not their messaging. Like, that's not what M Finance is all about. They just have a nice online platform. They have a nice app, easy to use, low cost, basically zero cost on the trading fees. They do have costs depending on some of the other products they have. But that being said, like, they have a very, very good product offering. That's how they've been able to accumulate the size of assets they have in a fairly short amount of time. So I think some other things to be aware of when you think about an M1 Finance is start asking yourself, not so much like, okay, we can talk about the offerings, but I think for here to answer this question, are they legit? Are they safe? Let's answer some key questions. You know, do they have SIPC insurance? So for those that are not familiar with what SIPC insurance is, this is basically any investment firm. If you're going to be accredited, if you're going to go through the entire process, you have to have a filing through the SIPC. Basically what the SIPC covers is that in the event that if something were to happen to the investment firm and they couldn't fulfill, basically they go out of business, right? If they were to go bankrupt, the SIPC will step in and cover any assets were held on that platform. So you will be made whole. That is like if you buy any stocks, any ETFs, any mutual funds, and they're being held at say M1 Finance were to go under, you're going to get all of the stock, all of the ETFs that you bought. Those will get returned to you in full value. Like this is a big deal when you can, once again, if you compare this to, what happened with all these crypto exchanges, there was no SIPC insurance. Like there was no coverage. So when Celsius Network, when BlockFi, when FTX, when each of those filed for bankruptcy with no SIP insurance, that means, because I'm one of those, I didn't have anything with FTX, I didn't have something with BlockFi and both Celsius. That means I'm basically having to go through the court process. And if there's anything left over at the end, I get some of my assets returned. Compare that to SIPC, something happens to M1 Finance, you're getting all of your money back. So that is a big deal. So the SIPC, since its inception over 50 years ago, they have helped recover over 141 billion in assets for over 770,000 investors. So that's what the SIPC does. Now that does not cover losses due to market fluctuations. So if you're buying a stock, an ETF, and you just pick a bad stock or you pick a good stock at a bad time, that does not cover any of those losses. Like that's not what the SIPC job is. In addition to that, M1 Finance has to file with FINRA. FINRA is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, is a self-regulatory organization that oversees the brokers and firms that conduct business in the securities industry in the US. I'm very familiar with FINRA. FINRA was the governing body whenever I was a financial advisor. All my securities licenses were through FINRA. When I was still a registered rep, I had to get all my content, my blog content, my YouTube video content. I didn't have a podcast at the time. I had to have all that pre-approved through FINRA. So I am very familiar with FINRA. But if you want to just see, you can go to the M1 Finance website, right? And you can read everything that you want about them. But once again, like this is M1 Finance's website. So this is like their marketing brochure. So keep in mind, right? But anytime, usually if you look at the menu up here, or if you want to scroll down all the way to the bottom, this is like pretty typical on all these different investment sites. You can start looking for some of their disclosure library. You can see if they're a member of FINRA or SIPC. You can also typically sometimes find their listing here on the FINRA. I don't think I actually found it here. I know you can't access it. I just basically did a quick search. M1 Finance FINRA, M1 Finance SEC. So this is their listing on FINRA's BrokerCheck. So this is not M1 Finance information as far as them putting this on there. This is what they would have had to file through FINRA, and this is their public listing here. And this gives their CRD number, also their SEC number. These are basically all identifiers that we have. Like whenever I was still a licensed rep, I had a CRD number. I don't think my firm had an SEC number, but these are all things that you would find, if you're trying to find some information. So what you can find on here real quick, there are no disclosures. That's a good thing. A disclosure means that you did something wrong and somebody filed a complaint. That's what a disclosure is. You can see that their SEC registration status was approved March 25th, 2016. They are an LLC, currently governed in 53 U.S. states and territories. Their office location, find out when they were established. So they were established in 15, didn't get their SEC registration status approved until 2016. That's fairly common. You can find out the CEO, the chief financial officer, the chief compliance officer. There's all their information here. And then even from there, let's actually click on here. Let's click on the CEO, who is Brian Randall Barnes. And from there, you could see more information about him. Like, was there any disclosures against him, which there are not? Which exams has he passed? What state licenses does he have? I'm kind of curious to see what exams that he's passed. So he has a Series 63, his Series 7, Series 24, and a Securities Industry Essentials examination. That one is new to me. I'm not sure that's just because he's a CEO of a broker. I never had that one. I never had to have the 24. I had the 63. I had the 7. So anyway, you can just find out some general information there. And so that way, I mean, this is interesting though, right? Because if there was any wrongdoing, if there was any sketchy track record, it would be here. Now, does that mean that they can't do something later on? Of course, right? But what we can see is that, was there anything prior to them getting this firm approved? Has there been anything happen since the firm was founded in 2015? I have come across several advisors through the years that there is something that has happened. There is, and it could have been a miscommunication between a client sometimes, or legitimately they did something wrong. Somebody filed a complaint where they sold them something they shouldn't have, or they took money out of their account when they shouldn't have. I mean, there's all these things that could be on here. So the fact that there isn't anything on here for M1 Finance or through any of their key principles, like that shows as of right now, they are in good standing. You know, there's nothing to be concerned about. Now, in addition to their FINRA filing, the FINRA BrokerCheck filing, you can also find information on sec.gov, and that's what you see here. So this is their investment advisor public disclosure. Very, very similar. There's really nothing different here, but what is different is on here, you can find links to their ADV, which is, their investment advisory firm summary. The way that an ADV was always described to me, I had an ADV whenever I had my own wealth management firm. It is basically like your client brochure, but don't think like brochure, like glossy pictures. It's just basically what are the nuts and bolts of your business. So you can see their latest ADV filed. So you click on here, that will bring you this, which there's nothing fancy here. But it's what you can see here, it's either going to be on this one. You can just see more about their business practices, what type of clients that they have, how they're basically making money, where's the money coming from. In addition to that, I can't remember if it's on this one or the part 2 brochure. I'm gonna click on this one real quick. So here, yeah, so it talks about how they get, basically their fees. And this has to be updated ever so often. If there's any like big changes to their business structure, this would have to be refiled every single year. I know whenever I had my wealth management firm, I had a compliance guy who took care of this for me. There's always questions of like, hey, were there any key changes in your business that need to be filed? And each time that happened, I would have to update this document, supply that to the SEC, and then also I'd have to let my clients know if there were any material changes on here. And what I'm not seeing, which I guess is probably a good thing, on these documents, this is where you would see, is there anything else that these guys are doing? Any of the key principles of the firm? So for example, are there any outside business activities? For me, as an example, like when I was a financial planner practicing wealth manager, I had to report that I was making money from my websites, that I had this online business. If you had a real estate business, or if you had another consulting business and there was outside revenue, you would need to report that. And the whole point of that was there any conflicts of interest? So you think about like if you have a real estate business and you're trying to solicit current clients of your investment advisory business to become real estate investors, that could be questionable. Like that could be a major red flag. So the SEC would need to know that. So you would need to disclose that there's this outside business activity. You'd also need to let your clients know that was potentially a conflict of interest. So as of right now, like I don't see any of that here. So is that a big deal? No, it's just something that you want to be aware of, when you're doing some research on an investment broker, or even if you're looking, not so much like an investment app, but like if you were looking to invest with a local wealth manager, you want to find out information about them. Was there anything that needed to be disclosed, whether outside business activities or any disciplinary action? Because like that would be a big deal. I would want to know what happened. What did you do? Give me some more info of why you had to report this to FINRA and SEC. Like why you got a little scuff on your track record. Like, yeah, I would want to know that. And I think you'd want to know that too. One final note, just talking about protection. We talked a little bit about SIPC. We talked about them having been governed by FINRA, by the SEC. Also, M1 Finance has some banking products, but the question is like, does that mean that they are a bank? And M1 Finance is not a bank. How it works is like they actually have their banking products through Lincoln Savings Bank for all their banking products, which is basically M1 checking. Now with that, They do have FDIC insurance, but technically speaking, M1 Finance, since they are not a bank, they don't have the FDIC insurance. The FDIC insurance that they have is through Lincoln Savings Bank. So that's how a lot of these investment apps is just so much less expensive and less of a headache to partner with another bank. Hey, you've already have you've already been registered, like you've already done all your due diligence, you've already got all the approvals. Would you like to partner? We'll put assets with you, use your FDIC insurance, and then we'll keep funneling more money as we raise money, since they have like 6 billion assets. So that's how they get the FDIC insurance. So once again, M1 Finance has FDIC insurance, but not directly. They get their FDIC insurance by partnering with Lincoln Savings Bank. So at the end of the day, is M1 Finance a legit investment company? The answer is yes, they are legit. Does that mean that in 5 years from now that something bad could happen or couldn't happen? Does that mean that they are fully protected from any sort of catastrophe? I mean, absolutely not, right? I mean, we've seen I'm trying to think the last time I could think of an investment company that went out of business was Motif. And Motif had, interesting name. I think I think I did have an account with them. I did. And basically what happened with them was they announced that they were going to shut down. There was no wrongdoing. It was just that they weren't profitable. So I remember I got an announcement that, you had so much time to transfer the money out. If you didn't afterwards, I think your money was sent somewhere. It was still in your possession, right? It wasn't like it was lost. So like that was not a big deal. So that to me, I don't know if that's like the biggest thing I'd be scared of. But with 6 billion in assets, that they're legit, right? That is legit to me. So that being said, the biggest concern would be, are they involved in some scandal? And once again, with the SIPC Insurance being governed by FINRA, that's where you do have that protection that you do not have currently in the crypto space. And full disclaimer, like I have an account with M1 Finance. To me, like they are, when I think of like some of the better investment apps out there, especially for a beginner investor, I think of M1 Finance. I think of Betterment. I'll have to throw Robinhood in there. Like it is easy. It's also easy to lose money. I think it's more easier to lose money with Robinhood because it's so easy to buy and sell individual stocks and crypto. Whereas M1 Finance, it takes more of in my opinion, a holistic approach of building a portfolio or using some of their model portfolios, or they call their investment pies. So it's not like, hey, I'm just going in trying to day trade and, turn $100 into 10,000 in 24 hours. So that's where I like M1 Finance from a beginner standpoint, because you can build your own portfolios, or you can pick some of their pre-built portfolios that they offer through their own investment research or outside investors. So that's why I like M1 Finance and can confidently recommend that to any new investor that is at the beginning, or even a seasoned investor that just wants a nice clean interface to have a diversified stock and ETF portfolio. So to answer the question, is M1 Finance safe? I say yes. I give them two thumbs up. But do your own research. Look at other investment platforms, as I mentioned, like Betterment is another one I think is a really good competitor to an M1 Finance, where Betterment, you don't build your own portfolios, like they build them for you after you tell them your retirement goals. With M1 Finance, it's more on you to build, but some people like to have that little bit more of control. And once again, like it's so stinking easy to use. I've got an M1 Finance tutorial video that you can check out. I have a link in that description for those that are watching on the YouTube channel. I have a link to it also in the show notes at the podcast if you want to check that out. Once again, I've got a ton of supporting content on the blog you can also check. All right, y'all, hope you enjoyed this video and podcast. If you want to check out the video and have not yet, go to Good Financial Sense on YouTube and you can check out the video. For those listening on the podcast, I appreciate you. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.